Picture this. It's the middle of the night and you've just woken up from a terrible dream. You can't shake the feeling of someone watching you. Suddenly, a chill comes over you and you see a tall, ominous, see-through-like figure. Who are you gonna call?
Ghostbusters.
No, you're gonna call the police. We've all seen movies like Ghostbusters, Casper the Friendly Ghost, and Hocus Pocus. What holiday comes to mind when you think of these movies?
Halloween.
That's right, Halloween. I've been celebrating Halloween my whole life. My first Halloween, my mom dressed me up as a pumpkin. I've experienced years of trick-or-treating, pumpkin carving, and Halloween movie marathons. Halloween is in a few days, and that got me thinking, why do we celebrate this holiday? Over the last few weeks, I've done extensive research finding out why. In a 2021 article posted by National Retail Federation on their website, nrf.com, the author states an estimated 65% of Americans will participate in Halloween this year. It's likely most of you will partake in Halloween tradition, and it's important to know why. Halloween's a superstitious holiday celebrated by many. Today, I'd like to share with you the history of Halloween and why we celebrate, and I'll begin by providing information on the backstory of Halloween and why it became tradition. Then I'll give insight on how Halloween has evolved into what it is today and different American traditions centered around the holiday. Lastly, I will go over different ways Halloween is celebrated over the world. After giving you a quick preview, let's begin by talking about how Halloween began. Halloween is an ancient holiday that dates back thousands of years. According to a book titled America's Favorite Holidays, Candid Stories, written by Bruce David Forbes, Halloween began in the 9th century with a Celtic tradition called Samhain. Samhain was a 3-day gathering beginning the day of October 31st. Celts celebrated by gathering crops, eating, drinking, playing games, and lighting bonfires. This tradition brought the end of summer warmth and marked the beginning of a long, dark, cold season. November 1st was called Samhain's Day, and October 31st was known as All Hallows' Eve. Celts believed this was the one time of the year where the lines between the living and the afterlife were blurred. In the previously cited book, authored Bruce Forbes states, the veil between the earthly reality and the spirit world was especially thin. Ghosts of the dead might return to the natural world and fairies could cross over to pester humans. To prevent this from happening, they would dress up in costume during Samhain as a way of scaring the spirits and keeping them away. Now that I've told you how Halloween began, I'd like to share with you how Halloween has evolved, as well as a quick PowerPoint showing American Halloween costumes over the years. Over many centuries, Halloween has evolved from a Celtic tradition to a holiday celebrated in America by trick-or-treating, eating candy, and carving pumpkins. Carving jack-o'-lanterns is one of my favorite holiday traditions. According to an article written by Sydney Grannon, published by Encyclopedia Britannica on their website, Britannica.com, Halloween wasn't always celebrated by carving pumpkins. Turnips were originally used. It wasn't until Irish immigrants came to America that we began using pumpkins. Another common Halloween tradition is dressing up in costume, going door to door, and trick-or-treating. An article on History.com, published in 2009, but last updated October 14th of this year, says that this custom began because of a 1950s Peanuts comic strip that depicted what we know today as trick-or-treating. As you can imagine, Halloween costumes have undergone quite the evolution themselves. I will now display a PowerPoint presentation showing examples of different costumes over the years. In the 9th century, costumes worn during Samhain featured handmade masks and long white sheets that resembled a ghost. As you probably know, I couldn't find a picture from the 9th century, but this depicts what they were kind of like. Moving on to the 1950s, Western films became very popular. Cowboys and Indians were among the most popular costumes as a result of this. Today's Halloween costumes are heavily influenced by pop culture. It's common to see people dress up as The Purge, which is a popular scary movie. We also see a lot of Marvel costumes, and Frozen is a very popular selection amongst little kids. Halloween is so popular that we even dress up our pets. We've gone over the origin of Halloween as well as the evolution. Now let's talk about how Halloween is celebrated in different parts of the world. Halloween is very popular in the US, but it is also celebrated in different ways, all over the world. In Haiti, Fête Grata is celebrated. An article posted in 2021 by Insider on their website, insider.com, states Fête Grata, or Festival of Ancestors, is a voodoo holiday celebrated in parts of Haiti and other voodoo communities around the world. People take part by lighting candles, journeying to their ancestors' burial places, and drinking rum infused with chilies. In the Philippines, Halloween is celebrated very similar to how it is in the US, except they celebrate on November 1st. Spain and Mexico celebrate Dia de los Muertos. And the previously cited Insider article states Mexico and Spain are famous for Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, which is celebrated annually on November 1st and 2nd. Locals dress up as their ancestors and build private altars called ofrendas, which they use to present gifts from sugar skulls to tequila to the dead. Given all these points, I think we can conclude that Halloween is a fun and spooky day filled with many different customs and festivities. Halloween's a superstitious holiday celebrated by many. I've shared with you how Halloween began and the history behind the holiday. I've discussed how Halloween has evolved into what it is today. And finally, I've highlighted different traditions celebrated around the world. I really enjoyed sharing the history of Halloween with you. Perhaps now you can enjoy celebrating a little bit more after learning all about this spooky holiday.